in America, why is it this way in the first place? Why do we only have two parties? Why don't we have more options? This two-party system, to me, is rigged to keep us polarized and to keep the power within two groups of individuals. And I think that we have to raise this question of perhaps the problem that we're seeing over and over again is that this system is no longer working. So why don't we think of ways to change it? So that's kind of my thought. I wanted to kind of get y'all's thoughts about that too, and just kind of discuss, like, are there other options and what those options are?
I mean, you can always be an independent, but I don't really know. I don't know how that lines up when it's time for the voting to go down, because we never really even hear about them. They don't make a dent in the election at all, which is why for certain, black people in general, if you don't know a lot about politics, I know for me growing up, I only thought it was two parties because I would only see those two candidates when it was time. I really didn't even know back in the day that you could vote for your local officials. Like, it took me a while to even realize that. So I don't know. I don't know what's the use of it. Like, what difference would it make if they have it all set up the way they want it to go anyway? So
pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's how I feel. It's all set up a certain way. I don't want to be the conspiracy guy in here, but I just feel like they're going to put who they want in. It's all a sham or something like that.
No, but it is, though. I mean, America is not a real democracy.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not. It's a faux democracy. The U.S. political system is set up for two major parties. That's it. Because it's awarding seats to Congress and the presidency with a winner take all. That's what the Electoral College is about. So they don't want any more parties than that. There's a quote that from people are going to be upset when I say this, but I obviously, since I don't have any dog in the fight, I am a spectator looking into the American political party system. Neutral. And I pull quotes from all kinds of people. But I read that from a French socialist, Maurice Duverger, theorized in the 1950s that this kind of setup leads to what is effectively a two-party system. Duverger's law states that the third parties can't compete because there is no prize for winning. For example, 15 or even 25% of the vote. This leads voters to choose candidates who are most likely to win, and it leads the parties to try to broaden their appeal to half of the electorate. Right? So it's not even set up for the Libertarian or Independent or the Green Party or the Constitution Party. Those are all parties in America, but unless they win a certain amount of electorates, they don't. It's like all or nothing, right? If we had multiple parties, think about how this would work, right? So we are forced to kind of choose one or the other, and you have to put all of these things on a broad platform we don't agree on. For example, in America, Donald Trump and the voters that like him, really, they're not Republicans. They're really American nationalists. Republicans are like Mark Cuban. Okay? Republicans tend to be fiscally conservative. They're sensible. They're morally conservative, right? They're not radical in nature, and they're not bombastic to ideological beliefs. That's a nationalist position. Okay, so in America, we should have an American National Party. We should have a Republican Party. We should have a Democrat Party. We should have a Black Panther Party. We should have a Libertarian Party. And based off where you live, you should be able to put a party candidate that represents your people and then put them before the House and the Senate. Well, as it is now, you have this 50-50 back and forth, right? But let's say the Senate or the House was broken up into multiple parties. Let's say if it was even, 1/4, 1/6, or 1/8, it would force parties to actually have to do real collaboration because they wouldn't be able to hold the power structure. So America doesn't actually want us to be a democracy. It wants to have the sense of a democracy and the appearance of a democracy without actually having real democratic foundation in place. So, for example, even like in France, when they have an election, like a Macron, he had a party, but there were multiple parties that are bidding for the national election, and they have many different representatives within their parliament. We don't have any of that. I don't even know if there's even an independent candidate or a libertarian in the House or Senate. I think Rand Paul is the only one. He's really a Republican, but he ran as an independent within his state, so that because he wanted to steal more of those votes in that state. So to me, this is the problem, man. We have a fake system that pushes us to vote for one candidate or the other, and we really, really don't want a true democratic process. Sean got no thoughts about that.
No, bro, listen, you touched on so much. Like, I feel like any other salt I add is just gonna make the dish bad.
Speak on it. Speak on it. I mean,
you touched on every issue that I
your
had.
name is Loudmouth for a reason.
Right. But I, like I told you from the first episode that we shot, like my belief in politics is about as slim as the sheet of paper that they wrote the Constitution on. So I trust it as far as I could throw it. I like to learn as much as I can, and so I definitely come here for a lot of that because you have a lot of the knowledge on the shit that I wouldn't get it nowhere else. But I think you touched on all of it. I don't see why we don't have more parties and more options. Because even right now, that's the biggest argument that I see on social media or just in conversations about politics. Is I don't want to vote for either one of them, and it's just like, well, damn, I wish it was somebody else. But then you get this weirdo coming along like, hey, I want to run as part of I'm running as the birthday party, and I'm like, all right, so I'm done. So I wish it was more options, man. But we'll see how that goes in the future. I don't know. How do you change that though? Yeah, well, there has to be a change in the electoral college. Like we have to allow parties to actually have a viable chance to win, states. I did see there was a change with the electoral party where they have to vote for what was it? They can't vote for a candidate that's outside of their party for whichever one that was. Well, yeah, they make you run down ticket. Like even when you go to vote, they almost force you to go across party line to run Republican down a ticket, or else you have to go through each one. So you have to kind of have a knowledge of your local, and regional elected or potential elected officials to be able to. Most people just say, okay, I'm going to go straight ticket, right? And what it forces you to again. So for example, like what if you have a person who votes more Democratic, who may be more liberal with certain things, but they don't believe in abortion? Right. Well, there's nowhere for them to go. If I say in the Democratic Party that I don't believe in abortion, then Democrats are saying you're a hypocrite.